Welcome back to the Side podcast, folks. Today you are joining us for the second episode in the Mastering Storytelling series that I'm conducting with Dan and Dani, our local Australian TV celebrity builders. The first episode, in case you missed it, was laying the right foundations of successful content creation. This episode is talking about how to create a plan and a bit of a strategy behind your content delivery, so on and so forth. Guys, enjoy this show. Dan and Dani are experts over at tradiematepro.com.au, as am I, and you can head across there and you can get access to those guys, or you can learn more about them there. They're also in the Facebook community, so if you want to head across to the Facebook private group and you want to ask some questions, by all means you can do so there as well. And that's all from me, guys. Enjoy the show. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations, and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form, and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello listeners and viewers, welcome back to the Site Shed podcast. You're joining us today for part 2 of the Mastering Storytelling series that I'm creating with Dan and Dani. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us again, Maddie.
Thanks again.
So for the listeners and viewers that are just tuning into this episode and have not yet had the chance to listen to the first one, I would encourage you to go check that one out. This episode is going to stem into it by design, I should add. So in the first episode, we were talking about laying foundations for your content creation strategy. And in this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit more about actually building out the plan, what it's going to look like, what tools you're going to involve, who you're going to involve in that strategy, and how you can deploy it. And then in the following episode, in the last episode, we're going to actually talking about overcoming your fears and getting out there and getting it done, and how you can be a little bit more proactive in the space of, like, I suppose, making it effectively part of your routine. So guys, thank you for joining us once again. First episode was fantastic, as expected. In this episode, I suppose this is where the rubber's really going to meet the road, not read the mode. But I mean, it is important because, you know, it's all good having these, you know, ideas in your head, but then it's all about like actually putting it in practice, right?
Right.
So, and I know you guys have got a really good, actually, I just saw it. You showed me before what your strategy looks like. So we can talk a little bit about how you might go about designing that. I'm really interested in, I suppose, understanding like who you involve within the business. Like, do you employ, get your staff involved in the process? Do you have a VA that helps you with things? Do you do it all yourselves? Right. Because I know a lot of the guys out there, like as we discussed in the last episode, like their big fear is the time constraint.
Yeah.
And I suppose having a lot of guys say, "Oh, I don't have a team like you. I don't have these people are doing this." I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But like, I didn't always have a team doing it. Like,
Exactly.
We all started at the same position.
We were all hustling at the start.
It's true. Like when I started the podcast, I was doing 3 a week and running the business, and I did that for a year. And now I look back and I go, I can barely get 1 a week out of the way.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like our current time in our business. I don't know where all these hours are coming from for us to get all this work done.
You
Like,
make
we're
do.
just getting it done.
It's incredible. Like when you actually hire someone to do a position, and then you look back, in a month's time, and you think, how the hell was I doing that? Well, I mean, the answer is probably you weren't, or you weren't doing it very well. But
Oh, more time for Netflix.
yeah, exactly right. In talking about, I suppose, actually putting this plan together, I suppose it's important to understand, and I've said this in a number of different podcasts before, you kind of got to be where your audience are. And I know we spoke in the last episode a lot about Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing. But then I suppose there are a lot of people out there that might be thinking, well, my audience aren't on Instagram, which is fine. Like if you're into building nursing homes, then, maybe.
Their families are probably.
Well, and that's exactly right, I suppose. So I suppose that comes back down to understanding the real dynamic of that journey, doesn't it? Like you've really got to get granular when you're forming those foundations. In terms of the actual strategy, so we've laid the foundations. We know now who our audience is, who we want to speak to. We understand the medium that we're going to use, or the mediums. So if we're going to be using Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, whatever, newspaper ads, television, radio. And I joke about that, but to be honest, like we've got a lot of guys, a lot of listeners and viewers that live in regional areas, and it's actually an extremely viable and quite affordable thing to do, is run regional television commercials, which spun me out.
Radio has such a huge reach. And actually, podcast ads as well, I think, are such a valuable ad source at the moment.
Yeah. And you're probably, and as well, like we're kind of preaching to the converted to a degree, because the people that we're talking and we're speaking to right now are kind of people that are in that space, and they're the guys that are out there listening to podcasts and they're into consuming content. So with that in mind, I suppose we still need to be respectful of the fact that a lot of our listeners and a lot of our audience may not be as receptive to Instagram or LinkedIn or podcasts or Facebook or whatever as we are. So, going back to laying foundations, you've got to really, I suppose, understand that journey and, what their interests are and where they are if you want to reach them,
Yeah, that's it. But I think, just even assessing your own habits. Where are you getting your information from?
Right.
But, start with that.
Yeah. So why don't we start with who's involved? Because I'd love to talk to you guys about what you do in terms of who creates the content. Like now we've got the framework and the foundations laid. Who's in charge of creating it? Is it the guys on site? Is it the people in the office? Is it the clients, through testimonials and reviews and that kind of stuff? Like, how does that look for you guys?
Yeah,
everyone,
it's
really.
Literally everybody.
Yeah,
really
it starts on the day-to-day with the boys on the site and myself when we go there.
Yeah.
We get
Actually,
photos.
It starts with our clients, because our clients are bringing us fabulous projects, and right away there's content.
Gotcha.
So then it's the guys on site throughout the build and myself taking photos, getting a big portfolio of all these photos.
Yeah.
Then we pretty much send it off to the girls in the office.
Yeah. Yep. So it used to be just me, and now we have, our lead interior designer, Ashley, part of her PD, or a percentage of her role, is dedicated towards our social media content creation and website content creation. So also we have just recently added kind of client experience, which will lend into what you were just mentioning before about reviews and feedback from our clients. It's all stuff that we'll build into kind of a creation plan as well.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's basically everybody. But that's what works for us. So we use the tone that we were able to establish on our website, which we hired a copywriter to do. Scoured the internet to find a copywriter who had a really similar tone and language to me, but I just have trouble getting it out on paper across what we really need to portray. So he's got a real way with words.
Writer's block.
Yeah, essentially, even though I used to be a writer. I know. So we started with that when we were redoing our brand and building a new website. So he helped formulate our tone and the language, which ultimately also helps in attracting the customers that we want to attract as well.
So with that in mind, so you've had a professional copywriter create the copy for your website, and then you've got your team members that are creating content for your social channels.
Yes.
How do they fit that into the brand? Like, how does it all tie together?
Yeah, well, we're in the game of designing and building homes. So our baseline content needs to be around that. So we're not asking them to go on a photography course. We're just asking them to take day-to-day snaps of what they're doing that they would be interested in seeing. If they're interested in seeing it, someone else is going to be interested in seeing it. That's not to say that we're going to publish everything, but that all helps, and it all gathers more and more information. We found ourselves at some point, we're like, oh God, I'm not really sure what we're going to keep posting. We don't really have that much of our own content. So it was a big learning curve for us. And that's, we did a big preach out to the boys, guys, we need content. We need site content. We need you to be getting us photos, snaps on the daily, be talking about what you're doing, show what you're doing, and are you having fun on site as well? Because that's what appeals to our current clients and prospective clients, and people who don't even know they're going to be our clients yet either.
And I think you are telling a story throughout those photos or videos of the job and the boys on site, starting from the demolition or site setup, then it goes to demolition. Then you're showing the process of all the different structures you've got to do. And it really gives a client understanding of how a build process works.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, we've been able to be a bit cheeky with the wording that we're using when we're doing our social media planning, for example. So we make sure, because the website is in our language, we apply the same kind of tone. So something that I learned earlier this year, was around creating words you own.
Right.
So, and this forms part of SEO, I guess, as well. So we have implemented words we own into the hashtags that we're using as well. So things that are recognizable to our brand. And that's not something that you're able to do straight away, but it's something you should be constantly thinking about when you're putting these types of plans together. So
I mean, even down to the name of the business, right?
Yeah, totally. Like, one of the things that we say on our website that we also use as a hashtag is around our creative process when we're doing architecture and design work. So we say, we'll bring the wine. So we've been able to implement that across our website and on our social media. So if someone wants to click on that hashtag, they're going to find a bunch of our posts that say, we'll bring the wine, because it's part of our creative process.
So that's kind of relevant. I didn't actually have any notes on that, but while we're talking about the content creation plan, are there certain hashtags that you have to use within the posts?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's industry ones. Hashtags aren't as powerful as what they used to be. A lot of people don't use them in the same way as they used to. But we've made hashtags around the type of material and content that we want to sit beside. So when someone searches something, we're not just going to go, so a build or an interiors one that used to get around was like interiors ABC or whatever it is. So when you click on that hashtag, I don't want to be positioned as a brand or as a business next to the other 100,000 people that are quite lower in terms of their aesthetic and business presence than what we are. So we're not aligning ourselves with the right businesses or right imagery, if that makes sense.
Is it about that, or is it about being found? Like, if people search?
So I'm thinking, like, even for, a subby who wants to be a carpenter, or hashtag plumber, Melbourne carpenter, high-end Melbourne carpenter. I think that's very important to definitely add in.
Absolutely, for sure. But then once you progress on and you start to put a proper plan in place and developing structured content for your business, once you've found your little feet, like once you've got your baseline, furthering that plan and developing consistent content is where you want to start implementing the words.
Your own one. Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned something which I want to go back to. It's something that I probably didn't consider, but it's completely relevant. You were saying something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, but there are guys out there that can create the content, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones publishing it.
Correct.
No, yeah.
Correct. So the guys on site are the ones taking the photos of waterproofing, or, an appliance is starting to go, and joinery getting done. Get different photos of it, different angles of it. And because we're tradies, I'm a tradie, and so are the boys on site, we don't really know what to say or do with those photos. So then we handball it over to the girls in the office.
Yeah, but that might not be, not everyone is in a position who has a girl in the office. So if this is feeling like it's kind of still quite beyond someone's realm of possibility from time or know-how or whatever, lean on resources that are available. So there are so many amazing small businesses out there that will assist in producing content creation that are really, really affordable. So they'll formulate, say, for example, a social media strategy and plan for you, and they are able to share with you the types of returns on those investments that you could expect. So that's stuff, if when you're formulating your plan and you get to, so in front of me right now, I've got a calendar that says March 2020, and every single day in March 2020, it has what content we'll be likely to share across our channels. If you get to that point, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do with March 2020 as my calendar. I would almost relate that back to what's happening on a day-to-day within your business. If you have a Gantt chart, for example, of what you're doing on site, you can formulate a social media plan or a content creation plan. If you know that you are, say, a carpenter, you're going to a site, or you're on a site that has maybe, framing happening one day, for example, or you've got joinery going in on one day, or your plumbers are there roughing in on one day. Bingo, slot it in. we do a topic called around people we love and people we support. So we'll do a post, I think it's once a month we're doing it, and we'll share another business in our industry or someone who we work with. We might not actually work with them. We might just really love what they do. And so we'll share them and write about them. And that's creating a sense of community with our industry. So things like that are really important. Lean on other tradespeople who you work with for content. So if you're a chippy or a plumber, have a look at the builder's social media, what they're doing on the builder's website. Ask them for permission to use the images. Approach the architect that you may have done some work on a job, an architect who did a job, who you did some work on. Approach them. You can buy image sets from architects for, nominal figures, a couple of $100. You might be able to get yourself a couple of images of a job that you worked on to post on your social media or on your website.
I think for the tradesmen, though, when they're thinking, what the hell am I going to post? What am I going to take photos of? Electricians, plumbers, even when you rough in pipes, if that pipe's dead level next to a stud, that's quite a nice image of how neatly you do your work and how much you care about your work.
Yeah.
A carpenter, a row of noggins at a dead level, dead straight. Take a photo of that. That shows the quality of your build that you're doing. Little things like that might, and you don't think matter, but it shows how passionate you are in the industry, and that is very powerful for someone like me, a builder who loves trolling and seeing what the other trades are up to.
Where are those images?
Well,
we haven't got any level noggins. I'm sorry. We're working on it. The plumber's pipe holding the noggin up.
Yeah.
We're probably kind of like jumping a bit ahead, but I think in terms of, why we are creating content plans for rolling out content, regardless of what it might be video content, it might be photography at the end of a job, it might be the day-to-day stuff, it might be a new set of plans that you've got, a new job that you're quoting, a review that you've got, whatever it is. This stuff helps you kind of create and establish goals within business. It creates a sense of consistency across your business. You're being consistent with the type of thing that you're doing, and you're consistently doing it. It also helps keep people accountable. Plans like what I've got here, which for our video people watching can see that keeps people accountable for the content that you need. So we'll tell someone, all right, we need this content by this date. This is the deadline.
And who are you telling?
Whoever it's applicable to. So
your market.
You're a guy on site, or if something's happening on this day. So I was saying before, if you have a Gantt chart, you know what's going on site. If you've been told by a builder, this is when I need you on site, you know what's going to happen on the site that you're attending on that day. So you know that you can take those types of imagery for that day. So you could do a plan around rolling out some of that imagery or some of that content or some of that whatever engaging posts on Facebook, asking questions from people. Hey guys, I'm going to be doing this on this particular day. Is there anything you'd like to know about it?
It definitely ties into making it part of the process, doesn't it? Like at the end of the day, that's kind of fundamental.
Setting the groundwork, so committing to a certain amount of content or that you're doing a day. So I keep drawing back to social media because that's a really big part of our business and how we promote ourselves and talk to other people within our industry. So, commit to how much you want to do or can do. So if you're going to commit to, say, 2 posts a week, plan ahead for those posts. Set out what they might look like for the month or what you would hope to do for the month. If you miss one here or there, it's not the end of the world, but over time, the key is to be consistent, and it will be a work in progress. So if you start off with all aspiration, I'm going to do 4 posts a week, and you're only really finding time to do 2 valuable posts a week, 2 valuable posts is far better than none. Yeah. So creating that consistency, and you'll build to the 4 if that's where you want to get to, but at least you're setting a target. You're setting an expectation of your follower can expect that from you, so they may come and check back in for your content. Oh, they haven't posted for a while, I might head over to their page and see what they're doing. Things like that.
I'm just curious with this strategy. I mean, we're talking a lot about what I would consider, micro pieces of content. Like we're talking about, the odd video here, photos here and there, so on and so forth. The fact that we're creating a content creation plan now effectively should have a goal in the end of mind. And for a lot of the guys and I've taught this on many different platforms before, you don't necessarily control the journey of anybody through platforms you don't control. So are you trying to get people back to your website where they can fill in a form or they can consume something from the website that you can control their journey a bit better?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a recent customer inquiry around, we were her first preference for a custom builder for a home that she was looking at building. So she got to that stage by isolating us as a preferred person through our social media.
Right.
So, and that's through the type of content that we're publishing. We're publishing content that is custom because that's what we do. We're not a volume builder. We're not, doing that from a day to day. We are purely custom. Everything we do is custom, essentially.
So no IKEA flat packs on your
well,
jobs.
There's a couple in our office behind us, but
only when we need to do.
Only when we need to.
I don't know. I know.
But if you're a subby going through all this, and what is your goal? It might just be to win builders over.
Yeah.
Which is all work for yourself. So it might not be about the client. It'd be about, the builder could be the client.
B2B, B2B is really, really important. And we do also structure a lot of our content around appealing to other businesses as well. And that's why we do, who we love, what are they doing? This is who we support, because we are a community. We are, yes, we're competing, but there's enough work out there for everyone. And we are in the business of supporting our fellow tradespeople. I feel this is a real shift that Dan and I are quite passionate about, actually.
Absolutely.
Of just supporting one another and not tearing each other down and trying to give each other a hand. And we are in the business of referring clients to other builders and builders to other clients, because there is enough for everybody at the end of the day. But I'll share a piece of content that we are currently developing that is not social media based. This is content that we want to implement onto our website. So we are working really hard on our kind of team culture, refining our mission, refining our values, and refining the ultimate goals for our business. And once we have gone through that period of refinement, I am planning to shoot a series of small clips that will sit on our website that tell that story. So this is all a part of reaching out to who I want to work with. I want people to know that what we're working on as a business, what we believe in as a business, and how we feel about the people within our business, because people love passion. They're drawn to passion, and they want to understand who it is that they're giving their biggest expend that they will make in their lifetime to, who those people are that are going to build their house, that are going to fulfill their dreams, essentially. So that's something that we're working on that's far aside from social media. And
I think that's important though as well for people to understand. And content can come in many forms, and it's not necessarily about talking about jobs that you're doing. It could be talking about culture, like you just said then, or something that happened to me yesterday where a client asked about a certain thing. I've written this big email, and I was like, actually, maybe someone else wants to learn about this. So I took that email, turned it into a blog post, recorded a video on it, shared it into the group. These are all things that you come across every day, but sometimes it's so easy to not see them if you've got the blinkers on. So content's around you in many different forms. And I think, to be fair, I don't think to be fair, but I think, if you have like a more sort of eclectic approach to the types of content you're creating, it is more interesting. People are like, oh, this isn't another post on, a framework, or this is another post on roofing or whatever. This is actually talking about some of the team members. These are the guys that are coming to my site. You're building trust and rapport.
Yeah. We talk about our guys. So something that we do on our social media plans as well is we'll publish a post about our guys, about our staff and who we're working with. That's a really important one to us. And historically, all of our clients have commented on those photos going, oh, we love that person. Oh, he's so amazing. Oh, she's so great. We love her. And so that to me, if there's a prospective client coming to our social media page, clicking on that photo, they're going to see our clients talking about how awesome they think that person is. Why wouldn't they want to work with that person?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's really important about just linking it back to the person. Yes, anyone can see a beautiful building or a beautiful chair or a tap or noggins or whatever it is, but people want to know who they're working with and what they're all about as well. So that's something we really, really try to do.
Before we wrap this episode up, let's talk a little bit about some of the tools and tech that we can implement to help streamline the process. I mean, I know there's a lot of programs out there that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. I know I've had good and bad experiences with some, so I'd like to hear some of the things that you guys are using.
Yeah, so our biggest tool that we use, aside from Dan, our biggest tool that we use within our our social media planning, because it's really visual and social media is really visual, especially in our business, is Plannerly. So Plannerly enables you to schedule content, which we are able to do 3 months ahead of time. So we'll take a huge chunk of time in a day, it might be maybe 1 to 2 hours of a day, but that'll be it for quite a few weeks. And we will do the calendar like I've got in front of me, put that onto the screen. So we'll put placeholders in place for, say, all of our travel posts. We'll put placeholders in place for all of our staff posts, and then we'll kind of fill in the blanks with the rest of the content that we want to roll out. So if you are concerned about how your, say, Instagram feed might look, like we are, because that's our business, you're able to kind of adjust those tiles around to make sure that it rolls out how you want it to visually. So that is such an amazing tool.
Do you find with, I mean, there's a bunch of programs out there that do similar things, and I've used many of them over the years, Buffer, Hootsuite.
Yeah, I used
all
to
these
use
kind of things.
Hootsuite, yeah.
Do you find that they get the same level of engagement as you would get if you just post natively?
Yes and no. So we still post natively as well, if I've got something on the fly that I feel is important to share. But I think because we've developed such a refined tone and language, we're still able to kind of consistently maintain engagement, because it doesn't always, like, it doesn't appear as if it's scheduled content, if that makes sense.
And where are you syndicating to? Insta, Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, that's it?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's it. And Pinterest. Yeah. So
and Pinterest, yeah, totally.
Visual business as well. We'll push out to Pinterest as well. But what it does is, for those people that say they don't have any time, it at least allows you to kind of set up the framework in a visual space. So you can maybe also set it to post, but not automatically. So it'll send you a reminder to your phone, oh, you've got a scheduled post, open to post. So you can open and post that. And if you're concerned about how the wording or the tone might come across, you could literally draft your actual words or your copy right then and there, so that you're kind of a bit more in the moment if you are concerned about engagement. Because it does take a little bit of time to get a voice worked out and to find your groove with this kind of stuff. So
I know a lot of those programs, and you set a social post to go out, it syndicates to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and it shotguns them all at one time. And somebody's sitting there with their phone, all of a sudden they've got ding, 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 the same post across 4 different platforms come at the same time. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
sometimes we don't post to Facebook at the same time, so we might split them, and we can also choose to share to a story as well. It depends on your audience, and you'll get a feel for that. We use insights quite a lot as a way to understand what our audience wants and what they're doing, and we're able to then plan for that.
That's Instagram insights, Facebook insights.
Facebook, yeah. We just had a conversation yesterday around a series of images that we released that weren't as engaging, and we were talking about why maybe weren't they as engaging, and why this and why that, and we've worked out perhaps why they weren't. So now we've got a test in place to hopefully resolve that. So this is a learning exercise, and I think
totally
key to this is produce content that you want to see, that you're drawn to, because you can't, that's you. If you try to do something that you're not interested in or not drawn to, that will show through. You won't be able to talk about it. You'll feel weird posting it. It's just not going to come naturally. So, if you're in the electrical industry, that's your passion, right? That's what you're going to be most comfortable talking about and sharing about. People want to understand that. We have a local supplier, Lights. They are insanely passionate about talking about lights and lumens, and it blows my mind. But you know what? I don't really understand it, but I am so drawn into their conversations that they have online, because of how they actually narrate them and talk about them, and the plans that they do, and talk about this specific. It blows my mind how gravitated I am to that content, even though it's not something I can really actively apply within my own role. It's just all about engagement, and it is trial and error.
Yep. Cool. All right. So we've got Plannerly. I mean, I suppose from the point of view of actually creating the content plan, that platform would probably pretty much solve most of the problems. It's sort of, it project managers, it syndicates, it enables you to upload everything, saves time management.
Yep.
Is there anything else that anything else that you recommend?
Yeah, so this little pile of post-it notes.
Oh,
so post-it notes, when you're kind of formulating your actual plan before you get it onto the computer or onto somewhere that's formal or a tool that's formal, when we're playing around with our plan, we'll write what it is we're going to post and we'll see where it fits. So before you commit to a fully written plan, you can move it around with a post-it note to see where it's going to be. And that allows you to also change things once you get a better idea of what people want to see and when. So you're not committed until the final stage. But in terms of other tools, so we use different photo editing tools as well. So depending on how involved you want to get. But if you are posting on the fly and you have gone to the effort of creating some kind of aesthetic across your social media, there are apps you can get on your phone that you can do that on the fly.
Yeah.
Not as important a lot of the time for a business like ours. It is, because we do have that creative side to our business as well. Other tools.
What about analytics? What about
Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned insights, obviously.
Yeah, insight, absolutely. Know what's going on. Understand the insights. If there's something you don't understand, Google it. Honestly, all the answers are out there. We do use Google Analytics a lot because I want to understand what people are going to on our website and what content on our website people are more drawn to as well. Because obviously I want retention and I want people to look through a whole deck of photos when they're swiping through a post and not just the first two. Because if they're only going to visit the first two, we've got a real problem. So making sure that that's all in place.
So this has been good. I mean, my takeaways from this have really been, I suppose, in terms of creating the plan is getting the content done a bit in advance. Don't be trying to do it last minute, because that puts you in a bit of position of, well, okay, great, at least it's done. Yeah. You can use a syndicating tool if you want, like Planoly or whatever, whatever there is, a bunch of them out there available. Understanding, I suppose, do you have a theme, making sure that the images fit into your brand, and then understanding as well, once you posted it, what's working, and reviewing the reporting and the analytics and the data to improve the campaign as you go forward.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you'll only need probably a month or two to get a feel for what your followers or your viewers or whoever is looking at the content that you're producing is going to like.
Right.
Be able to get a fairly decent, case study off the back of that. But literally the first step is just taking time. Take half an hour. If you've got half an hour spare on a weekend or during the week, print yourself off a month calendar that's got just a big grid on a page, and have a think about what's coming up in that month that you're doing. Think about, then list those things on a page. Then think about if from that list, if you would be drawn to that, if you saw it somewhere rolled out or talked about or however it might be. If you think you would be drawn to that, then put that into play and see if your followers or your clients or whoever it might be are also drawn to that. So conversation is good, I think, as well. Getting conversation going on your social medias, on your websites, on your blogs, whatever it might be. People love that.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, that's a pretty good metric of engagement, isn't it, if people are having a conversation?
Yeah, and respond to your followers if they write to you.
Awesome. All right, well, let's wrap this one up. We're going to come back with the last one, and we're going to talk about how to overcome some of your fears around the content creation process, and I suppose effectively just getting it done. I imagine a lot of it's going to tie back, Dan, your experience of, being a hammer swinger and now all of a sudden being a movie star.
I'll be able to talk a little bit, hopefully, in the next episode.
You might have to swap seats.
Yeah.
All right, awesome, guys. Well, let's wrap this one up. For the listeners and viewers out there, make sure you tune into the following episode, because the guys are going to shed some light on how they address the fears that all of us have when it comes to getting in front of cameras and actually creating content. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, because that's something I'm still learning myself. Thanks, folks. We look forward to the next episode, and that's a wrap.
See you then.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com, where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.